afternoon. We're back. Happy New Year for everybody on the live. This is the first live of 2025. Like, you guys, you don't even understand. We had camera angles to deal with. Steve had last second demands. We could only give him red M&Ms. Any other M&Ms, and he was walking out on us. Like it was getting dicey. It was it was touch and go for a minute, but we did manage to get it. So first, collector the scallops, collector people. Steve, how are you?
I am great. Super busy day. Sherry and I have been bouncing all over the store, so it's been a very productive day, and it is
Listen,
continuing right now.
I know, but look, it can't all be hanging out in Orlando watching wrestling. It can't just be all that. We'll get into that in a minute. But Sherry, how are you?
I'm great. Happy New Year to everyone. We haven't been back since before the new year. So start off with that and excited to begin this 2025.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. No, he's not here. Thankfully.
He's in
Thankfully. Like I said,
Toronto.
listen, the AI is really good now. The AI is real good. You guys don't even know. This is Phil here. Happy Tuesday, AMG and Carlos. Happy Tuesday to you.
Mm.
Yes. So yeah, we're gonna sit there and chat a little bit. We're gonna talk about the Upper Deck Certified Diamond Dealers Conference in Orlando. So that's kind of a big one because obviously that's where they showcase a lot of their stuff. We've got a couple of stories, and then I'll ask some questions. But if you folks have some questions too as well, then you let us know. This time around, so no giveaways on this one. I know. Restrain yourselves. Sorry, Steve's mom. We apologize. There'll be further opportunities. Don't worry. We'll get another chance later on.
I'll take care
But
of
this
Sheila when I get home.
There you go. But for this episode, we're basically going to focus on the Diamond Dealer Conference because maybe if you are curious about basically what that entails, it's not just nonstop partying. Well, for Steve, it might be the autograph signing, the partying. It's a lot, but we can get a little bit of a sense of what's there. But one of the things that does happen is that sometimes there's sneak previews of future things, also exclusive cards. There's definitely been
Mhm.
some of those as well. We can talk about that a little bit. So we'll have a little bit of fun with it. Yep. Logan says, glad you all had a safe trip. Excellent. Rob says, welcome back. Jeff, hello everyone. Welcome back, AMG. Perfect. Love the new
Thank
backgrounds.
you.
Yes. Sherry's inside the store. So now you're getting here's the store.
I know. This is the store, and I thought what better place to sit tonight than behind, or rather in front of the Upper Deck flagship product while we talk about this. So
Oh, look at the synergies. Look at that.
I know.
Perfect. So let me ask you a question. So you obviously are there. In order to be involved in this, you have to be a certified diamond dealer. So
Yeah.
how was your trip down? And kind of when did you find out about what the agenda was? Basically, what was the start once you got down there?
Yes, so we left on Tuesday. Our flight was delayed a couple hours, but that was okay. We got there in the nick of time. So Tuesday, it was registration day, 2 to 6. We arrived at the hotel after delays, which is where the conference was being held at 20 to 6. So we got registered, we got the itinerary for the next couple of days, and then we were off on a bus. We didn't know where we were going, but we ended up actually in Disney Springs. I think it's called the Edison.
Yep.
So they had taken everyone there. It was a great spot. Everyone had a great time. They had Jeremy Roenick do an appearance, did
Nice.
some giveaways. So it was an exciting time.
Yeah, no, definitely. It was a fantastic facility, and we enjoyed the surprises every night. We didn't know where we
Hmm.
were going. They just
Hmm.
said the bus will be here at 6:30 and organized very well. I think we would have
Yeah.
like six double-decker buses just pull up one after the other, and off we would go to an undisclosed location. So, and that first night, the Edison was phenomenal. The food
Hmm.
was fantastic. Um, it was an open bar, so Sherry took advantage of that.
Yeah,
Then
right.
after about 3 hours, I joined in. But no, it was a lot of fun, a lot of networking,
Yeah.
and like a lot of people you see but don't get to talk to.
Hmm.
So after a few sociables, everyone kind of loosened up and talked socially, but lots of business talk as well.
Oh, definitely. That was the great thing, like about night one. It was basically a social mixer. See who's there, see you haven't seen before, and to get to know a lot of people. And then Wednesday and Thursday, it was keynote speakers and presentations from about 9 to 5. They had a lot of great presentations. Actually, the big show was one on one day.
Yeah, that was cool.
Now,
Yeah,
literally the Big Show. Just so we're
yeah,
clarifying, referring to Paul White, the professional
you got
wrestler,
it.
the Big Show, and,
Yes.
and the wrestling will come into play. Listen, I heard rumors that Steve might have gotten in the ring and given a couple of power bombs. That's all. That's all I know. We have
He
no
wanted
footage of
to.
that. We
Thinking
have no
about
footage of that.
it.
But the-
Yeah, and then even Paul White, kind of said because of trademarking, he could no longer call himself the Big Show, but
Yeah.
we could call him the Big Show. So
Yeah.
yes, right.
he always had to refer to himself as Paul White. But
Mhm.
and he was, it's not his first rodeo. He's done lots of speaking engagements, so he had some great stories to tell us. And little tidbit, Carlos, you may or may not know, you probably do, but Danny Bonaducci is the one that got him into wrestling, got his foot
Right,
in the
yes.
door. So it was from the Partridge Family, I believe.
That's right.
Yeah, so that was kind of a neat introduction. He told us how he got started in wrestling and things like that. So yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, he's actually a really good public speaker. Like he's actually
Very
been very
good.
good at it over the years. And that's one of the things, like, because he's such a big guy, obviously a lot of people they don't necessarily expect that of him, but actually he is a pretty smart guy. He has been around a while, and he was able, and in reality, if they let him, he could go in a bunch of directions and give a ton of stories, because he actually cut his teeth. His big break in professional wrestling, the big one, was he actually wrestled in WCW. So he was actually he was wrestling Hulk Hogan, he was wrestling Sting and those guys back then in the late '90s. So he was there as the Giant, and they tried to play off of it, pretending he was Andre the Giant's kid.
Yeah.
And that was the gimmick, basically. And so he had very similar gear to what Andre the Giant sported to kind of play off that. But obviously he's a massive human being. I actually watched him wrestle in Toronto years ago, and even from a distance, he stands out as being gigantic.
Yeah.
He's a big
Yeah.
dude.
And unfortunately, being such a big guy and the profession he was in, it's definitely taken a toll on his body.
Mhm.
Kind of, told us all the numerous surgeries and, basically his knees and hips, multiple replacements and stuff like that. Said he wouldn't change a thing though, but, health is the most important thing you got a lot of times. So hopefully he continues to stay as healthy as he can be. But yeah, great speaker. And also too, the original Superman, Christopher Reeve, his son was there.
I was just going to mention that next.
He was our opening speaker, and he was
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Excellent. Very good. So Sean's saying, are any of the UD presentations online? That would defeat the point of being
No.
the Diamond Dealer exclusive. It's all secret. Hush, hush. There's already been people that have gotten in trouble for taking pictures of future products that get shown, and that leaks make their way out, but they're not supposed to.
No.
It's supposed to be a sneak peek. So real quick,
Yeah.
I'll share a couple of interspersed pictures. If there's any specific one you want me to pull up, I can, but I'll start off with this one here. Just kind of yourself and the two of you in front of one of the Diamond Conference things. So there it is right there. So you can see that's one of the various branded things. So it is, like I said, the Certified Diamond Dealer Conference. You do have to qualify to be part of this event, and and there is some exclusives. Again, there are the events, there are the speeches, there are the different, I guess, how do I put this? There's different little segments where people will go through presentations, basically take you through the presentations on various things related to it. Now, was it all product based? Some of it related to business, a little bit of a mix. What would you call it?
It was a great mix. There was a couple of small business and banking presentations. There was security presentations, law presentations, and then of course different presentations from employees of Upper Deck going through different products. But there was a great mix of everything. I have to say I was really impressed with how organized it was.
Yeah, and like Shari and I discussed too, like a lot of it, I don't want to say it's common sense, but it's stuff, in the business world you should know. But it's also good to hear it again, just to like a refresher. But we did learn, some new things. I think I enjoyed the presentation on like trademarks and things like that. Because there's big lawsuits and things like that can get thrown your way. So I learned a few things that you definitely have to be aware, with licensing and things like that. So, so it helped me understand a few things.
I'm glad you learned something.
So I was going to ask, so Shari, for any presentations that you visited, was there any particular one that you liked, like any particular topic that you thought was in the same vein as what Steve was talking about? Any particular one that stood out for you?
Honestly, I think they picked the 3 or 4 best topics they could have. As Steve
Mhm.
said, like it's good. Yes, a lot of it can be common sense, but a lot of it is new stuff and refreshers. I think the 3 that they chose, like the banking, the securities, and the small business management, for instance, like it really helped a lot of people, I'm sure. And it's
Absolutely.
for not just like everybody else, of course, has a store, but many
Mhm.
people have a store in different locations or where the geography is different and etc. So there's a lot of different factors, I guess you could say, to each business. Some might apply more to others than one, but overall, it was great.
Yeah, and a lot of them too, again, we discussed, were big business problems,
Hmm. Yep.
but it also translates to small businesses as well. So, and especially if you want to grow, it's things to keep in mind moving forward.
Hmm. Definitely.
Absolutely. And one of the other things that we were kind of touching on as well, and one of the key pieces was there were various, you'd almost call them activations if it was more of a kind of a trade conference. It is a conference, obviously, and it is
Hmm.
trade, but it's very specialized. Like it is. It's
Hmm.
certified diamond dealers. It's not like a
Yeah.
regular trade conference where all businesses from it are involved. It's very niche. That was where Sean's question came in. Like, yeah, they could have
Yeah.
recorded it, but it's not meant for everybody's eyes. It's intended
No.
for a specific audience to showcase it. However, one thing that I would have loved, we could have done a live stream. I would have been happy to do play-by-play commentary. Steve goes to the ring and takes his rightful place as the collector of the scallops and fights on all comers. That would have been very exciting. Steve, do you want to give a little bit of how this right here? So I'm just showing a still image, but how does this come into play in the festivities here?
Yeah. So
Mhm.
again, yeah, night two, again, loading up on the buses, and they took us to the back entrance to Universal Studios, and just kind of took us in this big warehouse that, as you can see, the background had like curtains surrounding it. And when
There's a
we went in
studio.
the studio, yeah, almost like it, yeah, studio. I think it was
Yeah.
called, Studio 30 or something. But we walked in, they had food and everything, another good social. And then all of a sudden they introduced Samoa Joe, and who is the guy I told you this morning, Carlos? I can't remember his name. Um,
Satnam Singh.
Simon
yeah,
saying, yeah.
he's like 7'4". They kind of introduced them just as guest signers, so that was
Mhm.
kind of neat. Everyone got in line and we're getting autographs and that. And then at the end, all of a sudden, the lights kind of shone on the two of them, and out from behind the curtain, another wrestler popped in, and basically, told the big guy, like, if there was a ring here, I'd kick your butt, blah blah blah. And and Samoa Joe goes, "Oh, really? You gonna stand behind that?" And he's like, "I sure am. If only there was a ring." And then all of a sudden, Samoa Joe goes, "I think I can take care of that request." And one of the curtains lifted up, and there was an impromptu, wrestling arena that they had put together for us. So as you can
Mhm.
see, there were stands on 3 sides, and it must have been what, Cherry, 250 to 300 of us, so somewhere
Oh,
around there.
definitely.
It was a pretty
Definitely.
good crowd. So we filled up the stands, and after the guy tried to chicken out of it, he goes, "All right, well, let's do it." And then they ended up putting on a little 4 match event for us, and it was fun because we were chirping the wrestlers, and the wrestlers were giving it right back. So
Mhm.
yeah, everyone was having a really good laugh.
See, Steve. Now now the next time, Sherry. Now the next, AW Lure. It's just around the corner. I'm ready. You
Yeah.
collected the scallops, collector of the body slams. It's coming. It's going to be really exciting. I just thought it was very funny. Like I know the characters. Obviously, I know we've touched on it. I've had a lot of fun with it.
Oh,
I know the brand. It's one of those things. There are things like this where they can do a very good job. I wish they would do stuff like this more because I actually think it's good. To kind of Steve's thing, it's not going to be for everybody, but it is beneficial to present it to people so that at least they can see what, as opposed to this is a box of cards, here's what it is. It's like, but
yeah.
if you don't know what it is and you have no connection to it, Satnam Singh, Samoa Joe, a bunch of those guys have actually been in the card sets. So
Mhm.
some of these people are in the sets. They're not necessarily the biggest character. Samoa Joe, though, I like. Samoa Joe is actually a pretty good character. He's had a good history. Paul White is in some of that stuff as well. So like these names are at least you can connect now. And at least now you can say you got a story to go along with. If I grab a card and I show one of these characters, you've at least got a chance to see them.
Yeah.
So I actually think that's a smart thing to do. to connect it to some of the brands and licenses Upper Deck has. It's a pretty good call.
And AEW is also doing a live event in Nashville. So they pre-recorded with some of the stars, like, you know, Edge. I can't remember his AEW name, but some of the bigger stars in AEW. AEW made a pre-recorded message welcoming all the CDD vendors and stuff like that. So it was it was pretty neat. It was well put together. So I think whether you liked it or not, you can appreciate the effort.
That's for sure.
And stuff like that is where you can have a little bit of fun with it. And the thing is, the whole thing with the studio, going back to kind of the Paul White thing, WCW, when it was in the early 90s, when it was getting itself reestablished, they actually ran shows out of one of the Universal Studios. And basically they would bring in the crowd and tape a bunch of shows back to back to back, so that when they ran them in syndication, all the matches had already been recorded. So when you're watching on TV, you're watching matches that were recorded in your. So that setup is not different, but dissimilar to what they did back in the day. And they would actually record a bunch of matches, and that's what you were watching on TV.
Yeah, they used to do that actually with professional bowling back in the late '80s. That was one of my jobs in high school. One summer, you go to the job, whatever where you go find jobs, and they post a listing for bowling audience. So me and five of yes, so me and five of my buddies signed up for it. Best summer job we had ever. And of course, they filmed like the year-long bowling series over like a 2-week period. So from 9 to 5 every day, me and 4 of my well-behaved high school buddies sat in this crowd, and it was kind of when Arsenio Hall was popular, and we were making the same noises that they would do when you would start the Arsenio Hall show. So it was hilarious. And every match they'd kind of move us to different seats, maybe throw on a different shirt. But best $8 an hour I made my entire life. It was great, and we still talk about it to this day.
Oh, that's so good.
Well played. Yeah.
Learn something new about me every show.
There you go. Bobby says, I had to do with trademarks and such with my books. Absolutely. Thank you for that. And Sean, I'll come back to this question because I think this is a good question to bring towards the end, but we'll come back around to it. And remind me, if for some reason I'm not remembering, remind me at the end. But it is a good question, but we'll come into it. Logan says, look sick. Did you see Joe Henry, Steve? If he did, there'd be a bit of a contractual problem since Joe Henry is with TNA Wrestling. It's a different brand. So he should not be appearing there. It'd be problematic for issues. This picture, actually, I particularly enjoyed. I thought this was a good one that I think will play into this as well. So what you guys don't realize, Shari is actually 6'5". Satnam is actually 9 feet tall. So it's just that's what's going on here. That's how you can tell the difference. No, Satnam I think he actually played basketball. He did. Yeah, but he's one of those guys where he's tall, but he's also wide. Like he's actually a big dude, like physically in all dimensions.
I think they said
for reference,
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, for reference, I'm 5'4" and I'm wearing 2-inch heels. So I'm 5'6" in that picture.
Yeah, I think they said he was the first basketball player born in the country of India that was drafted to the NBA. I don't know if it was first round or just overall the first ever.
I'm pretty sure it was Dallas.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so that's kind of the reason that a lot of these companies looked at him. It's one of those things with the big guys. It's a bit of a mixed bag because some of them are not very athletic, but that he was able to play some basketball. At least he has some footwork, but he's got big hands, long arms. He's just ridiculously tall, so he stands out in a crowd. It's the Paul White thing all over again. Somebody like that, you walk around, they don't look like everybody else. They kind of stand out automatically, so it allows you to kind of sell in professional wrestling. The world of professional wrestling likes stuff like that. Having people like that around makes sense. Just from a show perspective.
It seems super kind, though. It was really nice. There was actually a few people around. We were downstairs at the hotel, and we just happened to look over, and he was there. So I was like, well, great opportunity to say hi.
I was in bed by then getting ready for the next day's classes.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah,
I have no doubt. The same way I am a man of peace, you are a man of moderation. And I believe this. I got you, Steve. I got you. So let me ask this. Either from a networking perspective or in a similar vein, meeting one of the people that were invited to be part of it. What was your favorite interaction, Steve, with anybody in particular? Could be for whatever reason.
I bumped into a gentleman, actually. I think he's from New Brunswick, and I'd never met him before. And then when we were at the last Toronto show, he kind of came up and introduced himself and sold me 4 Caitlin Clark rookie cards, which I think we might even show them on one of the podcasts. So he was one of the first people we bumped into when we got there and struck up a conversation. And then the first night actually, you know, hung out with him because again, we're all kind of fish out of water, didn't know a lot of people. So we chatted with him for a bit. So it's kind of neat how it, you know, went full circle and we reconnected. Super nice guy.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. Now, let me ask one of the questions that I think a lot of us are always going to ask in this situation: swag. What we got? Swag, giveaways, or, you know, VIP bag? Like, what are we talking about?
Yep. So we got a bag upon arrival. It
Mhm.
had our badges in them. So actually, I think I have a picture of the badge there,
I'll
maybe.
see if I can find it.
But we got two different ones. Steve's was a McDavid. Mine, coincidentally, was Tiger Woods. But they had our names on them. So we were actually able to send them in. But they had badges, shirts, leather, foldable notebooks. Um, what was the other thing?
They,
Oh, actually, heavy duty barbecue utensils, which are really nice.
yeah, from is it called Traeger?
Yeah, something like
Traeger,
that.
yeah, Traeger Grills. Actually, we had barbecue utensils. So
hmm
thank you, Traeger. Actually, my buddy
But
works
they
for
did do giveaways throughout the whole
Mhm.
time. Then they actually, what was it called? The diamond breaks. That was the first night, Tuesday night. That was
Mhm.
something that was exclusive, obviously, and you bought into. That was great. But then they did the giveaways throughout the day, the presentations, and you had to be there. If your name was called and you weren't there, you didn't get it. There's a lot of
Yeah.
people who missed
And
out on
if we had
sometimes.
to estimate, Sherry, probably like throughout the 2.5 days, they probably gave out over 100 hobby boxes,
Oh,
you
well
think?
up. Yeah.
And then there was, you know, maybe 30 autographed, you know, whether it's a jersey or frame picture. So yeah, they were always every time we would take a break when we would come
hmm
back, well, it was filling up again. They do 7 to 10 draws. But Sherry and I unfortunately didn't win anything,
Nothing.
and we just said it's rigged. Our names weren't entered.
Yeah.
So
Ah, I see. That makes sense. Well, the good news is you may not have won the boxes, but you were able to meet Jeremy Roenick.
yeah,
So I
Yes.
think that's the next place we need to go. See, guys, I got this. I'm going through the pictures, and as we go along, you know, I'll bring in on it. So we got to talk. Let's talk about Jeremy Roenick. Check it
Mhm.
out. We got a picture. We got an autograph picture, and then we got a lovely photograph that was taken, Steve and Sherry, along with Jeremy Roenick. So what prompted this? Was this one of the specific setups? You know, was it a signing
Yeah.
thing, and then you take a picture? What's the how do we
So
resolve to that?
that was the first night, and then they kind of said, "Okay, we have a special guest." And it was Jeremy Roenick that came out, and they had like actually where me and Steve had taken the picture in front of the upper deck wall there, um, is where they came out, but they had set it up because that's where the photo op was going to happen. So it was like I said, this is our first time going this year, but I guess every year they do have a different guest for special appearances, and so what they did was have you can line up, get a picture, and then the next morning they have these book displays done up for anyone who got in a picture. So it was really nice.
Very good, very good. I like it. So let's go off of that one. And one of the other things, like I mentioned, is that you do have kind of the exclusives. Now, if
Mhm.
any of you are curious, you can actually go onto eBay because some of them made it on eBay really quick with the quick
Mm.
lists.
I bet.
Oh yes, I did have a good chuckle about that. Now, one of the ones that was, I don't know if there are others, you can fill me in on it. One of the ones that I know for sure was they did use an insert called Thunderclap, and they had
Mm.
some cards that were specifically done for this. So I'll pull up an image or two for
They're
you
on
folks.
eBay. I didn't even see that yet.
Oh,
It's
they
been a
they've been
whirlwind since we've
a
returned, so
bunch
I
of them have
haven't
been
had the
bought and
chance.
sold already. A bunch of them bought and
Oh my
sold already,
God.
and they're in progress. They didn't wait very long. So I will sit here and I'll pull up a couple of us now that Steve's in with the AEW folk. I'll pull a couple of the AEW ones for him.
And actually, while you're pulling that up too, yeah, that was another thing. Like each presentation we did have a little presentation on AEW. So
Hmm.
then when we would leave the room, they handed us a little upper deck box, and inside would be each person got 5 of the Thunderclap cards, I believe,
Yep.
and then of course there's numbered ones. So I don't know
Mhm.
if there's 1 of ones, but I think I got one out of 25. And then they did the same for hockey as well. So we did get wrestling ones and hockey ones, and also I think DC as well. So they're like Batman and stuff like. So those were pretty cool.
Yeah, so I think the insert said, so I'm showing one example. So this is one of the AEW ones you can see there with the little upper deck sticker at the top there. There is a red version that's numbered to 25. It isn't just wrestlers though. They do have some DC. They do Celebrini is in the checklist as well. I think the checklist, I want to say, is 15 cards, 15, 20 cards, something like that.
Yeah.
And it's various IPs and different licenses they have. So they put a couple of wrestlers in it, but then they put Celebrini, and then they put a couple of DC folks, and then it's a mix. So if you actually wanted to collect the full set, you would actually get a couple of different categories covered. But if you just wanted these, there's this. There's a red one for sure. I don't know if there's another version of it. Now, one thing I will say,
I'm not sure.
and this is not a criticism, but it's more like a point, and this is something that made me chuckle when I saw these going up on eBay. I'm sitting there like, it would have been nice to use Thunderclap in the stuff that goes in the boxes. Not just for the Diamond Dealer Conference to have it in here is like, actually, that looks better than some of the stuff that made it into the boxes. That's just a personal opinion. Just thought I would include that in there, but it did make me chuckle. So you, as you said, you got a handful of those cards in a little pack. Is that how it was distributed?
Five of each. So actually, we each got like 30 total. So I'll have to dig those out. And I didn't know like people were selling them and stuff like that, but apparently they're sought after. So
based on how fast some of these got up there, I would be shocked if they didn't take a picture of them in the hotel room because some of these were up with the quickness.
Yeah, I did see them trading. They were trading immediately, and trading. And I did get one out of 25, and someone did offer to buy it to me, but I just kind of shrugged it off.
Yeah. So here's a McDavid there. So card number 1 for that one is the McDavid, and that lists with the back of the card. Yeah, so it's 15 cards. So it's one of 15 here. So it's a 15 card checklist. It does include some hockey players. It does include some DC. It does include some wrestling. It covers a lot of different licenses that Upper Deck has access to, and they're nice looking cards. Like a 15 card set though. I bet you some folks will try to put that set together now that it's
definitely
now that it's out there. So you can have some fun with those.
Too funny.
First couple of them have sold a little bit aggressively, although some of them are, once people start loading it on there, throughout the day I was watching and I was seeing more of them get listed. So then the prices will start coming down a little bit. But the first couple of folks that were really eager actually paid some good money for a few of those. It was actually kind of impressive. There's a few that are on auction. Now I'm kind of curious if the auction goes to the conclusion because some of those prices, one of them is over $200.
Oh, wow.
Very aggressive, very aggressive. I'm like, are you sure you didn't want to wait just like another day? When a few more get listed, but nonetheless, they're neat looking cards. I will say they actually are very nice looking cards. I do like them. Exclusive wise though, that wasn't it. There was also, I believe, for Black Diamond, Steve, is that the other one?
Yeah. So Shari and I, again, they'd had a little halls and that set up with some exclusive products to the show. And one was Upper Deck Black Diamond exclusive. So the box looks the same as the Black Diamond, but at the top it says exclusive. So we just kind of got in line and followed everyone's lead. They were buying it, so we were like, well, we better buy some of this too. So
we've got a couple of things here. I'll show a couple of the cards here. So this Rookie Gems, I believe, is one of the ones that was in the exclusive boxes. So it differs from the regular version slightly. Probably the color. I think the green versus the regular color.
Yeah.
So Rookie Gems, Lane Hudson. So it's the whole exclusive thing, the whole point of it. And I've already seen, like, again, in the same vein, some of those boxes have already started getting to the secondary market. Not that anyone would do that, but I'm just saying that they wind up there. So basically you can pull stuff like this that is specifically in those boxes. Now on the outside of the box, were they labeled for certified diamond dealers? Is that what it was for those ones?
It just says the box says, like, the regular one just says Black Diamond. This one says Black Diamond at the top, exclusive.
I don't think I have one out.
Yeah, there's probably one behind you there, Shari, if you can.
Oh, a regular one.
Yeah, but the new ones are they're somewhere over around there, but yeah, no, so they're a little bit different. So I think they're a little bit more expensive too because supposedly there's some bigger hits in there. So so yeah, we were just kind of minding our own business, and then we saw how frantic it was. People were buying them up, so Shari snuck in there and bought a couple, and then we also got, what was the other one, Shari, we picked up?
Good one.
Goodwin Champions, and apparently they're same sort of thing. They're an exclusive, and the price on those was quite expensive. So wondering if some of Upper Deck's big athletes might have snuck in this product.
Very nice.
Yeah,
Very
it's
nice.
possible.
Things that make you go,
Perhaps, perhaps. So I'll go back to sharing. There are a couple other cards here that I think are worth showcasing, but I'm going to pull that back for a second. Before I do, let me take Sean's question now. Now's a good time, and then I'm going to open it up. So I wanted to talk through a couple of those things specifically, since obviously we had pictures and some. I've got more pictures, but the reality is I wanted to focus on certain topics and certain categories. So I'll pose Sean's question, and then if any of the rest of you have any questions or are curious about this kind of an event, because every year Upper Deck has these. Back in the day, it used to be that you would have they used to have one in Hawaii that was actually an industry conference. This one's Upper Deck specific. So Upper Deck specifically for their diamond dealers. But there used to be, I don't think they do it anymore, but there used to be an industry conference that they used to have in Hawaii. Sorry, Steve. That one isn't, not this
It
time.
wasn't the industry summit. They did an industry summit. Well, not necessarily Upper Deck, but there's also
No, that's what I
something
mean.
else
It,
called an
it wasn't.
industry
It wasn't one
summit.
company. It wasn't one company. It was an industry summit that
Correct.
was a bunch of companies,
Yeah.
and they would have one of the. They used to have some of those in Hawaii. I think it might have been. I'm trying to think. I want to say Kit Young was
Yes.
one that actually held it, and
Yeah.
then there was and then I think somebody else took it over, if memory serves me.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think Kit
But that was
Young
an
was
industry summit. But that was an
he was
industry summit.
based out
Yeah.
of Hawaii, so that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's basically that. That's why I say this is years ago now. But the reason I'm mentioning it is in the same vein, they would have exclusive cards for it. So it's the same kind of thing, but it was more manufacturers. It wasn't just one manufacturer; it was a bunch of them, and it literally was an industry summit. They would get together and have presentations, much like what you're talking about, but it was
Mhm.
industry wide.
Yeah.
And I know for a fact in one of those industry summits, Brian Gray got to hold court and do a whole speech and everything. But that used to be kind of the thing. This one is Upper Deck specific for their dealers specifically. Sean here says, "What were your goals during the trip, and did you achieve them?"
I had many goals for this trip. I've achieved some of them. But no, my biggest goals were obviously networking, seeing what other people were doing with their businesses in different areas. Um, there was D&M, and like Steve said earlier, a couple of the guys from New Brunswick were there. So we kind of have an idea what they're doing. We don't necessarily see a lot of what's going on down in the States in smaller communities or bigger cities even. And even in Canada, there's a lot of new people I met from Canada that I wasn't aware of before. Um, when you're at these shows like the Toronto Expo, for instance, yes, there's thousands of people there, but you don't necessarily get to see or meet everybody. You're kind of at your booth the whole time. So this was a really good opportunity to get out there and network and get to really meet people, not just on a personal level, but like I said, business wise too. So that was one of my main goals, is to see where and what everybody is doing and advancing and what's changing and what's staying the same. So I think I got a lot of knowledge from a lot of great people that I had met through a couple of days there.
Yeah, and there's a few like licensing things that we were wanting to look into, but a lot of, again, the other dealers that were in the same boat as us, and I think a lot of those licenses, whether they've been grandfathered in, things like that. Some of them are. It's going to be a process to get to where we want to be, obviously, because there's lots of other people that have the same desire. So we, again, talking with people in the same boat, learned a lot that way. And it's definitely going to take time. And again, getting your foot in the right door. So it was a step in the right direction.
For sure. And that's what these are all about too, is doing just that, is going and meeting new people and talking about your businesses with other people. It's really all about networking. And if you're not doing it, in which now it's something that opened my eyes up, if you're not doing it, you're kind of doing something wrong.
I just assumed it was so that you could check out Star Wars Lego.
That was
assumed
pretty cool.
Like I just that was all lovely. I believe the sincerity of your words, but what I got out of that, Steve, was Star Wars Lego.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, that was actually walking. It was Disney Springs. Yeah, we had that was Thursday night. a shout out to Dave, but there was about 16 of us that went to supper with Dave and the gang, and we had a great night. And this, as we were walking out, I happened to see this. I was like, well, that's pretty darn cool.
Indeed,
and
indeed.
very large Canadian contingent
Mhm.
down there. I don't know if it was
Mhm.
50-50, but of course, upper deck and hockey go hand in hand. So there was a lot of Canadian dealers. So we definitely, and I think that everyone that went out on the Thursday night, they were all Canadian dealers, I
Yeah.
believe. So yeah, it was, and from all across the country too. So it was nice to again meet some people, because usually when I do shows, Shari and I, we really don't stray far from the booth, and
Mhm.
this day and age, you really have to be focused on what's in front of you. So definitely
Yeah.
got to meet some people.
Yeah, actually, that's the
Normally wouldn't talk
photo
to.
from after supper.
We got the group shot. It's all set there.
Mhm.
Networking, hanging out.
Yeah.
Well
Yeah.
played. Well played. Good stuff. So I think we've covered the main kind of front of line topics. So is there anything else that we wanted to touch on that we haven't already? Obviously, I got some of the cards that I'll showcase here in a minute, but is there anything else that comes to mind that you wanted to touch on? We touched on some of the presentations. Obviously, there's some of the stuff where, it would be frowned upon to say too much. Steve's appearance in next year's AEW set after he went wild, went a little wild during the series of matches.
Yeah, the unitard was a
Little
little
bit.
tight, but I made it work.
Look, all I'm going to say is
This did
Steve
not
being able,
happen.
Steve body slamming Sandem Singh. It was like people went crazy. It was like Hogan slamming Andre. It was that all over again, and the people went wild. It was pandemonium.
No, I do have to say, I really appreciate being able to go there and do that. And Upper Deck did a great job with the whole event. Organization was top notch, and being able to meet so many new people, it really was a great week.
Yeah, and of course, I have to give a shout out to my boss Shari. She was kind enough to invite me along, and but I think I went more as a chaperone. But I think we worked well together, and no, it was a lot of fun. It was a good bonding experience for Shari and I.
Mhm. Mhm.
Again, lots of business, but we did have lots of fun. Other than the fire alarm went off, what was it, 5:30 in the morning?
Oh, it was, yeah,
Yeah,
the
so that
morning we were leaving.
so that wasn't
Yeah.
cool. But other than that, yeah, things went great.
See,
Mhm.
Sherry, this is why I'm against mornings. This is why now you all are getting on my page here. This is why I'm against it. Just against it as a general topic.
You
So,
would not have been happy.
oh no, it's very very upsetting. Very upsetting. I might not have been a man of peace at that point. Just throwing it out there. So Sean's saying, did you bring any product back from the shop from your trip other than single cards? Did you actually bring back product, or was it stuff that was opened up?
No, so we really didn't bring any product back. So this isn't necessarily a product buying trip. I'm
Yeah.
sure people might have snuck off and went to a store, visited local stores, but you really didn't have the time. This was
Mhm.
strictly conference, networking, supper, do the event in the evening, and bed, and get up and do the same thing the next day. It wasn't a buying spree.
Right.
Yeah.
Other than the Black Diamond exclusive and
Mhm.
Goodwin exclusive. Other than
Yeah,
that, yeah, they didn't have a variety of items there.
no.
Mhm. Absolutely. So I think, Steve, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of the Black Diamond cards that we've got here. So these came from those boxes. Is that right?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, I just opened them up about what, an hour and a half ago. I was like,
Yeah.
all right, I need to see what's in.
Yeah. We were supposed to open one, but
Well, that's a lovely dream you had.
yes.
Okay. So let's so let
Couldn't
me go through a
resist.
couple. Let's go through a couple of these here. So this is we got a trio of cards here. I'm going to see if I can zoom in a little bit so we can get a little better look at it. Let's take a look. So we got a Akurati Diamond Futures. I probably butchered that. Travis Konechny and Brendan Ottman. Wonderful that these three names all come together. I love that. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. So we got the Diamond Cutter insert, then we got one of the base, and then the Diamond Futures. All right. And I appreciate that we're still showing the Coyotes when we're moved to Utah. So that's always nice.
Right.
All right. So this one here, we got some of the jumbo relics. So some pretty good looking cards. For the
Yeah,
most
they
part, are
were
you pretty
nice.
satisfied? Quality control on these pretty good?
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. This is one of the big ones, Band of Color.
So
Connor
this one
Bedard Band
actually
of Color.
wasn't from an exclusive. This is just from a regular Black Diamond, but thought we would showcase it because it is so nice. So this is just from a regular Black Diamond, not the exclusive box, but a customer actually pulled this.
Nice.
Pretty nice.
Is that still available in the store at the moment? Is that one of the acquisitions, or is that one already out the door?
No, it is still around. He has not sold it yet, so I'm not sure what his plans are with it. So it is around.
Ah,
It is not
gotcha.
sold.
All right. So that's the back of the card there. So showcase the rest of it there. And here we've got a couple more. So we got one of the exquisites as well. Ideal cut rookies. This was the exclusive that came from that we talked about a little bit earlier. And Black Diamond boxes don't have too much stuff in it, but you basically got to see the equivalent. So is that the equivalent of a box or two? Basically two boxes?
And I think these also had
that was
did they have an extra card in them too, Sherry? I think that's
there were 6.
Or was there 6 or 7 in this? I can't remember.
Oh, I thought it was 6. Maybe it was 7, but there was an extra.
Yeah, I believe so.
Very nice.
It was happening so quickly, I don't remember.
Yeah. She started opening packs and she blacked out. And when it was done, it's like the cards were there. The cards, whatever happened. I don't even know.
Yeah. Every box that was opened, I was like, and what did we pay for these again? I was like,
no, at one point, Steve quite literally took the other 3 and like went to the other. I was like, get back here.
Yeah. I left the room with them, and they then left my office again. So
I see how this went. So now, having done that, I'm assuming, based on the sentiment that I'm gathering from the two of you, is that this sounds like an event that might be worthwhile attending again in future.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it just kind of never worked out to be able to get there at the time of the year. It's a busy time for a lot of people too. But I made sure it was something that we did. So last August, I signed us up and it arrived very quickly.
Yeah, and it definitely takes some planning. And I think next year they've announced that it's in Hollywood. So of course, you have to look into the logistics of, do we want to go all the way to Hollywood? But it definitely worked out. Going to Orlando worked out great for us because there was a direct flight from Halifax to Orlando. So getting to Hollywood might be a little more complicated, but 100% worth going. So whether we go again next year or not, that's up to Sherry. But I haven't been to Hollywood in a while. But
now I'm kind of worried. Sherry, between now and then, are you sure Steve will get there? Hollywood Blair might have something to say about that.
I said we're going. It doesn't necessarily mean Steve.
Look, all I'm saying is I can picture Hollywood. I can picture Blair going full Hollywood on us here. He's gonna have a tan before he even went. It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be very weird.
I see myself auditioning for a few roles out there, so I might not make it back.
I can only imagine. Some frightening stuff. My imagination is already running wild with the possibilities right there. I'm envisioning it, and I'm liking where this is going. All right, so let me make sure we touch on one or two things. I think this is pretty good. I think we'll start winding her down. But before we go, real quick, so Sherry, can you give us the reminder? I did mention on the podcast. So the podcast episode is recorded. It will drop tomorrow. So it is already in the can and it is ready for us. But it is the trade night and card show are back, and they will be continuing. Do you remember the exact date though? What the actual days were?
The trade night will be 5 to 8 on the 24th, the last Friday of every month. And the card show will be Saturday, January 25th, 9 to 3. We do still have some tables, available. So you can send me an email at amgbedford@gmail.com, whether it's to book a table or request info on how to and what the details might be. And we also have our auctions starting back up this week. We took a little break over the holidays, so they'll start back up and they end on Sunday. So that'll be something to look out for as well.
Very good, very good. And it is the same place. Yes, it is.
Same place at the Bedford Place Mall. You can get all that info online on our social medias or call the store as well.
Yep. And also tomorrow too, we touch more of it on the podcast, but Synergy Hockey's released tomorrow. So we should have that tomorrow afternoon. And then Friday, the long-awaited Pokemon release will be, what's it called, Sherry?
Prismatic Evolutions.
Yeah, so I'll be wearing a mouth guard and elbow pads on Friday. So
I
we'll,
assume that's what all the wrestling training was for.
yes,
We've
exactly.
sent you all the way to Orlando to train so that with Samoa Joe, Satnam Singh, and the rest of them, so that you figure out how to defend the store from the
Exactly.
marauding
Mhm.
Pokemans people.
So,
It's exactly that.
and I just found out Sherry won't be here Friday, so I'm a little
she,
worried.
she values her life.
She-
She
yeah,
understands. She
she's
understands.
she's
He's
getting
like,
out of the
this
province.
is where the war zone's going to be. Your job as the boss is not to be in the war zone.
Yeah. So
Correct.
You
we'll
watch from a distance.
so yeah, we've got to, we'll have to, Sherry's kind of laying down some guidelines and that, because we want to make sure,
Mhm.
everyone, as many people as they can have the product. So
Yeah.
everyone behave yourself on Friday, and we'll get through it together.
Yep.
On those rousing words. Collected the scalps, collected the people. Steve, thank you. Sherry, thank you as always. So we're back. We're doing the live streams again. So we're getting back into our rotation here. Podcast episodes are still happening on here, and like Steve mentioned, we are going to talk about synergy. So I do a little bit of a brief breakdown, go over a couple of high level things, just to get the lay of the land for you. Check it out. It is interesting. Generally speaking, it's reasonably priced comparatively to some other products, so it's an opportunity. But keep in mind that it is less cards in it. But there are some interesting things in it as well. So if you do check out the podcast, we go over a couple of interesting things that are on there. And if you're chasing after some stuff, we give you at least a couple of tips of some stuff you may want to keep an eye out on. So I can already tell from the distance Brad is causing trouble. So Steve might have to body slam him too.
Brad is in here. I have my headphones in, so he can't hear right now.
Sherry, no, the thing is,
He's
the moment
doing
you turn
some
your head,
PSA
I know what's going on.
overtime.
I know what's going on. I can see it. I can see it. This is why I'm the host. I know these
I think
things.
he wants some pizza.
Oh my goodness. It's wild. Wild. So anyway, for all of us, thank you for checking this one out. If you could hit the like button on the way out, Eric is paying for it. And if you got any
Yes.
questions or anything, links in the description to all of it. You can use all the contact points. If you're curious about pricing, availability on anything, ask away and ask the questions. That way you'll get the answers. And that's how you can communicate with the folks in the store. So for all of us, Happy New Year. Now we're going to continue forward and other things to come in 2025. So we'll catch you in the next one.